All right. So, hi everybody. Adam Stern, Strat SFR here, talking with the man himself, Tony Benj, down in Lakeland, Florida. Tony is a developer, and well, I'll let him kind of introduce who he is and what Bench Development does. So, good morning, Tony. How are you?
Good morning. It's good to see you. Yeah,
Good.
Bench Development was formed in 1994 to start doing development of single-family and mixed-use communities. Since that time, we've done about 30,000 residential lots. We've been some of the largest providers to national builders going back since '94. We've now morphed more into the larger scale mixed-use developments for the most part, but we still do some one-off single-family things. Just if we were creating a great jobs engine or economic center with the larger development, sometimes we'll gobble up any of the smaller parcels around, just to knowing that we'd be increasing the value with them, and the need for single-family housing around that for workforce housing and just general demand typically follows the retail and everything else we do.
Yeah. So Central Florida, Lakeland, Winter Haven, all the lakes in the middle of Florida, in the middle of Florida. That's more or less your breadbasket, right?
Orlando, all the way up to the Villages.
Mhm.
Really, about Lake County is about as far north as we go, and Tampa is about as far south as we go.
Okay, got it. All right, so today we're talking about a project that you showed me, and that we're working on together. It's in a place called Leesburg, Florida, and it's a site called Lake Harris. I'm going to pull it up real quick here. Leesburg is essentially right smack dab in the middle of the state, right?
Correct.
It is a submarket of the Winter Haven Lakeland MSA. We're talking about a site that's just off Lake Harris, which is this relatively large lake right here. And if you take a step even closer, you'll see that this is a parcel that's right along the northwestern edge of the lake, which makes it a kind of a great site for lakefront property. I always thought lakefront property in a project on the lake, since I live in the lake in Lake Norman in Charlotte, is always an attractive thing. But this site also has a lot of other things going for it in terms of what's surrounding it. So, Tony, you're developing this land, you're developing the site next to it. You want to give us a heads up on what this is?
Sure. And one quick correction. This is in Lake County, so it's a good bit north of the Lakeland Winter Haven MSA. This is actually directly adjacent to the Villages. And so
okay.
If you're not familiar with the Villages, it is the largest 55 plus community in the country. It has also been the top selling development in the United States for the past 11 years. They just added 150,000 additional home sites to the existing Villages. So it will now be.
When you talk about the Villages, Tony, let me pull up a map right here. Is the village, when you talk about the Villages, is that where is that in relation to this site right here?
Okay, pull out a little bit farther on the map.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would be right now from our site, you'd be 7 miles to the west, or really kind of northwest. So if you pull out a little bit more, you can't miss the cluster of housing that will pop up that's known as the Villages.
Okay.
Keep sliding the way you're going there, and then go north just a tad as well.
If I type in the Villages,
the edge of it right here. So just keep sliding and you'll see it. And
why don't I do this? I'm sure it's on Google Maps, Villages in Florida.
Yep. So right now there is roughly 125,000 homes built in the Villages.
Wow, it's a huge swath of area, and that's how far away from the site?
Well, what you're seeing right there was 7 miles away, but they just closed on another 64,000 acres and added 150,000 home sites to the Villages, which basically filled in the gap right in through here. They jumped 44, came in all the way down through here along the turnpike. So it will now be less than 2 miles from the edge of the Villages.
Got it. Okay.
This kind of sets the story for the hospital that we are directly across the street from was known as Leesburg Regional Medical Center. It does the second highest volume of heart surgeries in the state of Florida.
Yep.
Its sister facility is in the middle of the Villages, and they have just announced the third facility that will be going in. But as the president of the hospital will tell you, if you're getting any kind of serious surgery done, heart, cancer treatment, anything like that, this is the facility they take you to.
So you're talking about Leesburg Hospital right here. So this is just
Yeah.
right across the street from the development we're talking about, Leesburg Hospital.
And so now it's called Shands University of Florida Health Leesburg. This transition was completed about 3 months ago. As part of that, what we call the Venetian Isle project, which is and this map, it's already been cleared and we're under construction right now with the brand new Marriott Town Place Suites. We'll do 200,000 square feet of additional medical space, a lot of which is already committed to Shands for some of the additional practices they're bringing in. We've got a Home Communities out of Birmingham is doing a $62 million assisted living facility in there.
And these sites are where in relation to the site that we're talking about, which is right along the road?
So if you come down, go due east on the other side of that Lake Street, right there. All of that wooded property is what is now cleared and under construction with all the additional medical, hotel, and ALF facilities.
Got it. I actually had a here we go. So I actually did a map yesterday. So that's basically the project site right there, and all of this new medical is basically going in right adjacent to the site right here. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. And what you have around here is just basically a whole swath of medical offices, right? So
Correct.
You've got, I mean, I counted about 20, 25 different medical offices. So you have this new medical coming in. You got this big assisted living center next door. You got Leesburg Hospital right across the street, and you got this big development called the Villages that's not too far away. A lot of activity going on.
Yeah, and then also right where you see the Venetian Isle Park, where you see the boat ramps and launches right there to the left.
Yep.
This month we'll be breaking ground on a 10,000 square foot restaurant called Ski Beach, which will be the second of the Edens Beach waterfront chain. And so Thad Boyd, Randy Cunhas, and myself are the partners in that deal. And so we're right there where it says Leesburg Boat Club. The water right there, we're building that. We will be expanding the Venetian Cove Marina as well with that, just to meet the additional demand coming in. And the city put $14 million in that park, upgrading it, and built a brand new community center that was $7 million. And it had its grand opening at the beginning of the year.
Wow. Okay.
So this area is exploding as far as you also have one of the top special needs colleges in the country called Beacon College that has the highest graduation rate for people with autism right in there. So it's a $60,000 to $80,000 a year school. There's no financial aid, and they have a waiting list to get in. So Beacon has become a major player in Leesburg as well.
So and the upgrade or the restaurant going in the boat club and the upgrade to the ballpark is news to me. So you've got this waterfront community right here surrounded by new medical coming in, but you've also got this restaurant going in, and there's restaurants around here. It's not like it's only medical office in the area. I pull up a site here. There's plenty of restaurants and bars in and around the site. So it's kind of like a medical office, and there's also shopping and restaurants around here as well.
Absolutely. And within everything is coming because the Villages brings massive. I mean, they build 4,000 to 5,000 homes a year like clockwork. It's just a machine. And the Morse family, who are the developers of it, own all the retail within the Villages. They control everything completely. In there, you basically have to either partner with them or they will do it themselves. What this is really doing is putting a huge pressure to expand this hospital. When Shands came in, they selected it for that very reason, because of knew what was coming with the Morse family. They've been very philanthropic towards the hospital and the university. So it really is just one of those great opportunities that we have owned the Venetian Isle property, which is the one there where we're doing the Marriott and everything else, since 2004. And
Mhm.
so when we got wind of everything coming, it was originally approved for townhomes. We got it switched to the medical. Everything else, it was just more commercial oriented. And the day we started, we had medical groups racing to us to fill it out.
So when you brought the project to me, you kind of had the idea that we'd probably be able to fill up these 80 some odd townhome units by essentially just the hospital alone, just medical personnel
Just the
alone.
nurses. Yeah, Don Henderson, the CEO of the hospital, will tell you his number one challenge is keeping nurses, because right now Leesburg just does not have much, if any, rental
Mhm.
product. It
Right.
was one of those in between markets that, to build. I even had Andy here in my office when he was the CEO of the Collier companies. They underwrote it, almost pulled the trigger on it, but they just were scared that 300 units would be, the stabilization was kind of a tough putt. 80
Mhm.
is kind of the ideal number. I mean, you
Right.
won't have to go any farther than human resources at the hospital to fill it up.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, and that's interesting because you look around Leesburg and the rental comps. There's not a lot of rentals around, and the rentals that are around, we pegged at like they're mostly older products. There's some newer products, but the rental rates are relatively low compared to what we're looking to achieve on this project. Rental rates in like the 80 cents a square foot, 90 cents a square foot. You know, and I'll just kind of show people what we're planning here. So, in terms of the model units, we got two different size model units. A 1650 and an 1800. We think we can achieve a much higher rent per square foot on these just because of where they're located. Vis-a-vis the medical. That's kind of a risk. It's not necessarily supported by and large by the rents in the area. But given the massive demand from medical personnel for this kind of project, and the fact it's on the lake, and the fact that you have all these amenities that are in there and soon to go in there, I guess I think, and so do you, that we should demand a higher rent per square foot than adjacent lower quality
Yeah,
properties.
Leesburg is a very it has good areas and bad areas. This is obviously an exceptionally good area, again, given the proximity to the hospital and downtown.
Yep.
People are choosing their options, and there really just are no options in Leesburg.
Yep.
There are some great comps. America's Homes for Rent did a small community right down the street from this, and
Really.
they're getting well over $1 a foot rent. In fact, if you follow Dixie Avenue East, which
Let
is
me
Highway
see.
24, so
Okay.
main boulevard, just keep going through, go a little bit farther around the curve there,
Uh-huh.
and you'll see a community nestled down right there. You
Right
go,
here.
right up in
Right here.
there. America's Homes for Rent did probably 10 or 12 houses in there, and they have sales prices well in the 300,000 to 400,000 range before America's Homes for Rent came in. Kind of took advantage of a good opportunity there. They're at, I believe, it's like $1.20, $1.22 a foot.
No kidding.
Pull that
That's
up because it's okay product. It's nothing special, but it's really not designed for what you need for the medical personnel. I mean, these nurses, for the most part, are going to be gone when they're off. They need
yep.
something close proximity to work so that, they work incredibly long shifts. My wife was a director of a hospital. We did the same setup in Bartow in Winter Haven near the hospital, and it was just a stellar success.
Got it.
They want nice, they can afford it. They want something a little bit better than what the market typically provides. They also like the fact that a little bit higher price keeps the clientele in the area that they like it. One of the nurses that used to corner me at any event I would go to with my wife and would complain, why would I build something? She said, I can't even go lay out at my community pool because it's a sea level apartment. And she said, I really felt uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah.
This would be small enough you could really manage it. You're going to have, I think, all medical personnel in there. That is just
Yeah.
an ideal extension of the hospital
I,
campus itself.
I just found this on American Homes for Rent's page, and this is the Leesburg area. Let me see if I can find it right here real quick. So, where's Leesburg? I just had it. Da, 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 da.
You need to go north a little
North.
bit and west.
I'm just going to zoom up. Leesburg, there we go. So we got these. This is probably the community that we're talking about right here in Leesburg. Maybe not.
No, there's one right pretty close to where we are.
Okay, that wasn't it. They don't have any vacancies. That's why it's not on their site. So,
yep.
You're saying this is American Homes for Rent community, and I'll check that out. So there's obviously other rentals around that can support this. I can't find on the MLS. So this is great. Overview: we've got lakefront property, huge medical around, new medical going in. A little league, not a little league, but a minor league baseball field right adjacent to the site. A new restaurant going in.
You've got new community center there. A lot of new. They just got their first Starbucks, and I mean, Leesburg is finally coming into its own. And with the villages now completing that, they actually entered into an interlocal agreement with the city of Leesburg to get 68,000 utility hookups for the first 2 phases of the village's expansion. Okay. And so that will become part of Leesburg proper, which will absolutely be a shot in the arm for their tax base. The average home in the villages is a little over 300,000 now. And you'll see that increase quickly into the 325, 350 range over the next 2 years with the additional land that they've done. But it'll be a giant shot in the arm to the market, the way the retailers will view it, everything else. You're going to start seeing a much higher end coming in near the villages. To give you an idea, in the first community retail area that the villages did, Wolfgang Puck opened up an original restaurant in there. Right next to a 400,000 square foot Center for Advanced Aging, which is one of the most advanced in the world treatment places for cancer. So they do the proton therapy there all in-house. The Morse family brought that in. It's something they're passionate about. Obviously, with their clientele with the villages is health, and hospitals are a huge portion of that. Anything near the hospital, you've got gold. It just can't replace those engines. That hospital is massive that we're next to. It's 468 beds. It's going to be expanding at least 2 phases that we know of that are already being worked on with engineers as we speak through the city. Don Henderson, the CEO, is a great guy. He's very involved in the community, and he is begging for this type of housing for his nurses.
And you're lucky enough to be friends with the people who own the land, and you control the land to a certain extent right now, and you're developing the land as well, and that's how you came into this as being the developer of this other medical site right next door, and you just in the right spot to be the one that develops this residential lot as well.
Correct, and we sit on the board with 2 of the hospital directors as well, between Don Henderson, the CEO, and Alex Chang, their head of human resources. They both have said, the minute you're ready, get us the materials, we'll circulate them throughout the hospital, and we'll have you leased up before you can do anything. So the hospital is even offering to assist in filling those up.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these that they need it. They have actually come to our public hearings before in viewing support for the projects, and their opening statement was, I need this housing for my employees.
So this is the kind of thing where we build these units. We're going to be putting them out there at roughly, if we started at $1,900 to $2,000 a month, we're at a roughly $1.15 and $1.10 per rent per foot for rent. And you're saying we just basically take that to the hospital, and those are units that they'll help us get filled up.
I mean, you're making $75,000 a year minimum. And that's the starting nurse. So if you get in, they also have over 1,000 what they call traveling nurses or seasonal nurses. Their season happens to run 10.5 months. So I'm sure there's an HR reason in there somewhere that it's more beneficial to do it that way. But their number one plea that they have given us for the better part of 3 years is, please build housing for our employees.
Yeah, so you could also we might be able to do standard long-term rental housing just for people that live there and work in the hospital, but also carve out maybe 10 units or a section of the community for, I'm not saying VRBO, but even shorter term kind of rentals for those traveling nurses and for that population in the hospital that need that kind of shorter term housing solution.
Well, and Shands is turning into a teaching hospital too. So you're going to have visiting professors that are coming down for a semester to teach within the hospital. You've got a whole new array of folks coming in through the Shands affiliation that will be there on a, at least 6 months, maybe a year basis, that this would be ideal housing, I think, to even approach the hospital with a master lease for some number of units.
Right. Yep. And this is a site that the plan is to have this land developed by January and to start building on it sometime in the next 4 months after that. So the first building to be delivered sometime in mid-spring, early summer next year, worst case.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of the improvements because of Venetian Isle next door. Lake Street has already been improved. The upgraded lift stations are there. Utility capacities right there on the site. So now it's really a pretty easy development as far as everything else. It was originally permitted for 2 8-story condominium buildings. All the core entitlements are in place. So really it's now just refining the product, tweaking those civil plans and going in and getting the permits on it.
And the plan for this is, I'm just going to bring up the site to end this up. So here's the site plan, and we're talking about, is there going to be lake view? In the site plan, that you provided, it almost seems like there's a bunch of trees in between the site and the actual lake. Is there going to be a view of the lake from the from the site, or can that happen?
If we go 3 stories, we would have a view of the lake. 2 stories is going to be, you'll see some through the trees, but it's pretty thick. We do have block permits in hand, and the boardwalks through there have already been permitted by all the agencies. So you would have the walk there to the lakefront. Lake Harris is a 18,000 acre lake, and it's part of a chain. So it's a massive lake. They do a lot of the pro bass tournaments on this lake, well known for its fishing and recreation. With this aerial, you can see already the site work that's commenced next door for the Venetian Isle, where the other had all the trees. This is showing some of the mass grading that was going on several months ago. We've already got the footprints or the foundation and the first course of block going up for the hotel and the ALF as we speak. Medical buildings will start in the next 60 days. So it's really good timing to have this come on. Each of those private medical buildings will have on average of about 15 to 20 employees. All are high paying skilled positions. There will just be a huge onslaught for this, just with the drivers that are coming in next door.
So just when these employees will be coming into these buildings, it almost sounds like we can plan the timing of this development, if we can get this thing moving along a parallel track, is to make these units available to the very people who will be the new employees of those new buildings as they come out sometime in spring or summer next year. Is that what you're thinking?
That plus the hospital. I mean, the hospital really will fill you up. But I mean, to have the ability to have some good competition of having the private practices needing housing as well will just keep pressure upwards on the rents. Because 80 units is a really comfortable number. It's just not a lot to rent up, given the size of everything right around it.
Right.
If for an apartment complex scared us, you get into 300 units, then supply and demand. It's real simple. You got an oversupply. Your rents may not hit it. This is going to be the perfect point that demand's still going to well outpace what the supply. So that should get you a premium pricing. Yep.
Got it. All right, Tony, I appreciate you going over this site with us. I appreciate your insight. You obviously know better than anyone else. Anything else about the site, or?
It's a great. Leesburg is very pro-growth. I can't stress enough the change the Villages is going to make over the next 3 years. Leesburg won't be recognizable in 3 years from the impact of the Villages expansion. The current MSA right now, you've got about 35,000 in Leesburg. You'll bring in 68,000 new houses with the Villages just in Leesburg proper over the next 5 to 6 years. I mean, that's the great growth pattern that the Villages have. It's just a machine.
Yep. Well, awesome. Appreciate it. If you guys want to check this out or have other conversations, we're obviously here at Strata, and we'll make Tony available as well. Thanks a lot, Tony.
Have a good day.
See ya. One second here.